Hello everybody and welcome to this new episode of Books Up Close. I hope you're all doing well. Sorry I've been a little bit absent on here for a while, but I took a few weeks off to decompress a little bit before the new semester starts, and also visited family, which was really nice. Haven't seen them since the start of the year, which is very weird. But I'm back and hopefully we'll be able to deliver some videos to you with some kind of regularity this term. So today we're going to talk about Claudia Rankine's new book, Just Us, An American Conversation. Now, usually when I do these reviews, I'll finish a book and put it aside for a few weeks to kind of let it percolate. But I finished this yesterday and immediately had to do this video because I have so many thoughts and it's so incredible. So if you know Rankine, you probably know her previous book, Citizen, American Lyric, or the book before that, Don't Let Me Be Lonely, An American Lyric. So both of those collections thought about what the lyric meant in an American tradition. So the lyric poem, this internal kind of form that was about the personal and subjective. And in Rankine's hands, these two books became these multimedia things. So there was images, artwork, poetry, essay, prose, and other kinds of writing that blurred the boundaries between what poetry and prose might be or can be. As well, the words and the images related to one another. So these books weren't just kind of illustrated poems, as it were, but rather a photo text where the image and word relate to one another in complex ways. Now, there's a long tradition of photo texts in the US tradition that you can look at. Thinking of Let Us Now Praise Famous Men is a really famous one. But my good friend and colleague Caroline Blinder, who teaches at Goldsmiths, has written a really great book called The American Photo Text, which is an interesting introduction to that form. With Just Us, though, Rankine takes the form in a different direction. There is far less poetry in here, and it seems to be a more straightforward set of essays, though straightforward is not a bad thing here. Each little section, each essay takes as its starting point the issue of race in the US, but approaches it through a variety of ways. So the idea of an American conversation rather than American lyric seems to move Rankine's work from the kind of singular utterance of the other books towards a more dialogic one here. So in each essay, Rankine is thinking with other people, often her friends, neighbours, colleagues, associates, her husband, as well as kind of broader cultural discourse and then critical essays as well. So each right-hand side of the page is Rankine's essay, and on the left-hand side there is either a kind of image that accompanies it, or there are fact checks and sources for the various things that Rankine talks about. So rather than footnotes, you get the reference on the left-hand page, which really gives an interesting dimension to how Rankine's prose is engaging with a larger conversation literally on the page, not just the broader conversation that the US is happening, especially after the 2016 election. There are some really standout sections. There's a really interesting chapter on hair and blondness and whiteness. There is a section on schooling, on various cultural artifacts from the US. But some of the most interesting parts are in the chapters called liminal spaces, in which Rankine has conversations usually with people in liminal, in-between spaces like airports or waiting rooms, things like that. And there are so many conversations that Rankine has with people that open up numerous ways of thinking about what whiteness is, what white supremacy is, what race means in the US today, and how it's felt on a kind of daily basis and how it's acted out on a daily basis. Really, there's just so much of this book that I need to go back and read through and think about again. Each time I would read a chapter, I'd have to put it down and then pick it up the next day. This isn't something that you can just work through really quickly. There is so much to mull over and think about and question and interrogate. I don't want to say too much more about this book because I want you to read it for yourself and not have the preconceptions that I'm giving you here. So in a way, it's less complicated than Citizen, for example, in that it's not as formally challenging or inventive. Though again, that's not a bad thing. The simplicity and directness of this book is its strength, I think. So it's not as though you're working through different literary forms and genres here, yet the content is as pressing as it was in Citizen and in a more direct way. So before I say too much about it, I want you to read it and let me know what you think. If you've read Rankine's other books, you definitely should get hold of this and give it a read. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5, obviously. I think it is incredible. It's stayed with me. I'm going to think about it for a long time. I'm definitely going to move things around on my syllabi to make room for it. But if you read one book this autumn, I would suggest you get this one. As ever, please Comment below, tell me what you think, let me know what you think about Rankine's other work. Please like this video, please subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell for notifications, tell people about this, share, and follow me on all the socials that are connected on here, and we can continue the conversation that way. Okay, look after yourselves, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.